Welcome, everybody, to Adrift in Aldhalor. My good friends who are not on screen, make sure you are recording on Audacity. Because I almost forgot. But welcome to Adrift in Aldhalor, our weekly actual play show set in our homebrew world of Aradun, particularly on the continent of Aldhalor. We use licensed music through the service called musicbed.com. If you're a content creator or any kind of person who's in need of licensed music that you can get the copyright for, it's a great service. So check it out. Not a sponsor, just a useful tool. And our ambiance, the sounds that occasionally we use, a little rain on the rooftops, a little bird song, is usually Sirenscape.com or Tabletop Audio. Both have very, very good free ambiance for your games at home. So check it all out. I'm going to bring Shannon on to talk a little bit about our partners.
Hi, everybody. Happy Monday or happy time zone, whenever and wherever you are watching this. We are very excited to have our full crew back. Can't see them yet, but, you know, Mike's going like this, so it's great. Stefan's also going like that. Nope, Stefan's going like this. This is great. Nope, Clayton, I'm not doing it. So, yes, our... our partners, the people that make Paradise. Starting with Arcane Spectacles. Do you want to elevate your TTRPG and D&D gaming setup? Showcase your dice collection with pride using Arcane Spectacles' personalized dice display with options ranging from 1 to 5 shelves, each one custom engraved with the name of your dice set or character. It's the ultimate way to show off your collection. Sturdy construction and a unique touch of personalization makes this display a must-have for any serious gamer. Upgrade your setup today and roll for the ultimate gaming experience with Arcane Spectacles at arcanespectacles.com. Next, we have Underground Oracle Publishing. They are a best-selling, Emmy-nominated TTRPG publisher building new and exciting settings for the cipher system of every genre that you can imagine. Each setting includes everything you need to explore its unique world, including lore, species, descriptors, foci, creatures, ciphers, artifacts, and all of the rules that you need to play. Their current focus and success on Kickstarter is Herald the Blighted Plain, a crystal punk fantasy setting filled with fungal oases.
Crystal Funk.
Yep. I thought we could let it go, but no. Herald the Blighted Plain, a crystal punk fantasy setting filled with fungal oases, massive sand seas, and long-buried magitech. For as little as 3... for games and books. To visit his portfolio and get in contact with him, visit eyorke.com. Last but not least, we have 1985 Games. They create affordable, accessible, high-quality accessories for D&D and other tabletop role-playing games. Sean uses their NPC cards to create these wonderful, very brought-to-life characters in our game. And they were prompted by these cards. So if you would like to purchase those or any of their other amazing products, use the code PARADICEPROD for 10% off your entire order. Let's see. We have recaps on Discord that Sean writes for us every week. There is one for every single previous session of Adrift in Aldhalor.
There is one Shannon. The stream got messed up, but we're back.
Oh no. Are we back? Do I have to do the whole thing over again?
No. We got most of it.
What
happened?
We do 1985.
Discord messed up.
Oh.
My Discord, particularly.
Just to make sure we got it, maybe we do
1985. All right. Take 2, 1985. 1985 Games. They create affordable, accessible, high-quality accessories for D&D and other tabletop role-playing games. Sean uses their NPC cards to bring to life wonderful NPCs in our games. So if you would like to purchase those or any of their other awesome products, Use the code ParadiseProd for 10% off your entire order. Moving right along, we have recaps on Discord for every episode of Adrift and Aldhalor. We have a recap for every episode of season 2 of our first campaign. And we have a 2-pager recap for season 1 of our first campaign. So we got it all. We got all the recaps. And if you can't find it, just let us know in Discord. Come hang out with us. If you have any questions or you're interested in sponsoring an episode or two of Adrift and Aldhalor, shoot us an email, paradiserpg@gmail.com. You can now find Paradise on the Blue Sky app. And I do have a command for that now, Steph. If you do ! Blue Sky, it should pop up. So Blue Sky, Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, Discord, Instagram, and TikTok. We're everywhere. So come find us. Come join us. That's it. All done.
Good job, Shannon.
Thanks.
Let's bring the boys on. Oh, look, it's the boys.
It's the boys.
Welcome,
Hello,
friends.
Gentlemen.
Sup?
Sup.
All right. Let's jump into the recap. So, before I get into a recap for the entirety of episode 25, I would feel remiss if I didn't give a very, very, very brief recap of episode 24 for our two friends who were off in Ireland.
What do you mean, Sean? They definitely watched the VODs.
Yes, I know they
That's
did.
what they did on the plane ride. They had so much time.
Actually, we did. I mean, I did.
I know. Well, yeah. Well, Mike tried to log in to the last Monday's stream.
He wanted to watch
Yeah,
the
I
VOD.
wanted
25.
I wanted some cliff notes. I didn't want to watch the whole thing.
But anyway, well, the cliff notes are on Discord. There are one-page recaps.
You could also have watched the Power
You
Hour.
can also tell me.
That VOD, those VODs
I
are there.
will
Those are only an
tell you.
hour.
That's true, and you can watch me bully Shannon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Hey, I did really
It's
good
not
though the
really
last
bullying.
one.
She should have got a
That's
C
true.
minus.
No, your recap
Yeah.
for 24 was the weaker one, wasn't it?
No. Well,
Your 25 was your A.
25 was really good.
Yeah, so I should give it
25 was
24.
really
Yeah.
good. No, no backseats.
Anyway, in brief, your friends and you, because you were there, but you were helping in a different way, encountered a rather vicious and deadly wyvern on the road, attacking a farm, trying to steal a horse. They engaged.
Someone died.
They engaged, excited to fight something that wasn't people, so they wouldn't have to feel as bad about it. They, some good old-fashioned heroism. Unfortunately, some fiery breath took one of your companions out. In a desperate attempt to do something about it, Fyrn destroyed the crystal containing the storm elemental that you had acquired from the bandits. This crystal contained what you then could confirm in that moment, the essence of the greater storm elemental, possible deity, Eyeless, that Septimus had been researching back in the library. In exchange for freeing him from this orb, he did breathe life back into Jaquet, but is now seemingly on his own stormy rampage, as in addition to reviving Jaquet, he destroyed the entire farm that you were trying to save in the surrounding area, as a storm raged all night, as it emotionally disturbed you all in various different ways. Similarly, this is not something you all collectively experienced, but at least something that's interesting for everyone to know is that Sass had a real conversation with her patron that was not cryptic dreams. And the patron threatened her never to disobey her again. And the next time she says lick a rock, you lick the rock. Drink the water, you drink the water. Scratched her across the cheek. She now has a very infected cut there. as one of the patrons of the Otter Business said, "You got this. You got the fisherman's rot."
Wait, Septimus didn't give her Neosporin?
No. Well, this was after you guys separated in the city.
Okay.
While this was happening, you all were, returning to turn in your receipts and the cart. Yeah, Stefan, you got to give me those receipts at the university. Planning to join the party back later in the evening at the Cask and Crow.
So we haven't seen the scratch.
You guys have not seen. Correct. You
All
have
right,
not
so
seen
everything
the scratch.
forward is nothing. Okay, got it.
Correct. Yeah. Everything basically after the storm elemental situation is where you guys separated.
Okay.
So I think we can go into the 25 recap now. All right. On the 24th evening of Septim, the forest dawn on Himelnir. Last we met in the port city of Hyvin, our heroes, still split across the city, settled back in. For Jaquet, Sass, and Fyrn, this meant fight night at the Otter Business to unwind. Upon arriving, they found the shady tavern somewhat changed. A new bouncer, Obert, let them know some changes were coming due to the current political climate in Hyvin. Fewer folk walked the streets at night due to fear over a few recent unsolved murders, of which you are aware of and have already kind of looked into a little bit. The people perceived danger is outweighing their true public safety. They do not like to be out in the streets at night, preferring to be home or inside the bar. In the words of Obert, they enjoy the blood, sweat, and tears in the fighting cage, but not in their streets. Inside, the patrons were cagier than usual. They kept tight to their groupings, and little raucousness occurred. Sass found a table, but quickly grew paranoid as she saw a familiar figure up in the mezzanine of the private area, an area of the Otter Business none of you have seen, but you know is where kind of the real deals happen in this tavern. This familiar figure was Lasha Roxzra of the Bonerattler. One of the crew members who did see both Fyrn and Sass when they found the body of Hastings, and at the very least heard Jaquet's voice, or at the very least maybe saw a quick, dashing, gray, blue, black-furred individual. The last time you saw her, was after you murdered the captain of her ship, Hastings. Sass grew ever more paranoid and disguised herself as the hag-like old woman she invented named Granny Rhine by pouring her beer over her head as her material component. Fyrn went to talk with the bookkeeper, who seemed similarly strange. His boisterousness seemed drained, and he drank vigorously in a nervous daze. Fyrn learned that there were important people in the tavern to discuss important changes coming to Hyvin. He then enrolled himself for the fight this evening, a small bracketed tournament. At this time, Jaquet joined a table of strange fellows to partake in some gambling, and Sass downed several shots of hard liquor at the bar before very rapidly vomiting after leaping over the bar. The bartender took her into the back to recover, and she began a bit of a spiral, fueled by self-doubt and paranoia. She revealed herself to the bartender as Sass and attempted to turn invisible to spy on the upper mezzanine. In her drunkenness, her spell failed, and she was quickly rebuffed by a bouncer behind the upstairs door who clearly could see her when she was trying to sneak in. She claimed to have been, Rachel?
No, Miss Green.
Miss Green.
Well,
I'm thinking
which is
Rachel
funny.
Green.
Rachel
like
Green from Friends.
That's why I was thinking that.
Or I
Yeah.
just said
Miss
Green. I said, my
which
name
was-
is Green.
Yeah, and you said you were a new worker there, and you may
Yes.
have gotten the bartender in trouble by claiming.
Oh, no.
Meanwhile, the fight night proper began. Jaquet began his typical showmanship as the fighters were announced, which riled the timid crowd into a renewed vigor. The fighting began, and Fyrn, to the crowd's surprise, defeated the previous champion and the bouncer you all know, Odwin the Goliath. During the second fight, Sass returned to Jaquet and burst into tears as the crowd recognized her as the cheater that they call the Seahawk, a nickname she earned from making amends by chasing a bandanaed hog around the bar while people threw trash at her to make right her debts. This seemed to be the last straw as Sass began bursting into tears further. Jaquet tried to console her misery by claiming there was no way that she was nobody. Her words, claiming she was nobody. Jaquet wouldn't align himself with a nobody, and he listed some of her, well, really the party's triumphs since they've worked together. It seemed to help a little bit, but it didn't fully pull her from this spiral. She seemed to resign herself to a dour evening and just continued drinking. Jaquet returned to entertain the crowds as Fyrn prepared for the final fight against an elvish woman named Janna. He made a deal with her that whoever won would put in a good word for the other with some of the higher-ups in the private mezzanine if they reached out. A spectacular, intense fight ensued between the brawny Fyrn and the nimble Janna. Ultimately, Fyrn won, though. In the celebrations that ensued, Sass remained quiet and alone. Fyrn mingled with the patrons, but it was Jaquet who at this moment decided to sneak out and returned to Crass Alley after putting himself into the LaRue disguise and grabbing Captain Hastings' cutlass as he made his way to the deeper parts of this shady area. And within those deeper alleys is where he found a Leonin butcher and supposed black market dealer. Back in the bar, an unexpected patron visits Fyrn during his libations, Lasha Roxera, stepping down from the mezzanine, having spotted Fyrn during the fight. Okay. So. Oops. My notes were on the main page.
I see you didn't even bother to clean the boots. There's still blood all over them.
Let's see. Many tabs. All right, if we could get a shift in music to match Crass Alley.
I didn't even have barley on.
We will begin with Jaquet.
Who?
So, Jaquet, now disguised as LaRue, and wandering into Crass Alley into the what I'll say is the eastern alley, on the eastern side of the alley, Crass Alley itself. You wandered back into the sort of courtyard area where you found an open-air butcher shop with the name De Leon Brothers Butchers Block and Tackle, fine meats, exotic fish, and supply. There were a few lights, low torches really, the only thing around, and the light of a large Leonin's cigar as he was chopping vigorously with a butcher's knife, cleaning and gutting a large amount of fish, particularly shark meat. He looked up at you as you approached. As you're approaching, do you stop and hold his gaze, or do you just continue approaching as he sees you?
Continue to approach. And to remind everyone, Jaquet is no longer looking the way he normally does. He's wearing Septimus's father's worn, heavy trench coat with the collar popped up. His fur is all dyed a lighter tan. He's devoid of any kind of jewelry or look of ostentatiousness, except for Captain Otto Hastings' sword that sits on his waist. And where Jaquet walks, very lavishly, everything is a performance to him. Every step, there's more to it than just a step. The gait of LaRue is methodical, is direct, is very subdued, and he walks with a bit of a hunch as he just continues to walk up, his arms folded.
As you walk up, the first moment you made eye contact with this Leonin as his head came up, I'll remind the audience he has this, from what you can tell in the dark, this very, very charcoal black fur with occasional kind of like, in some areas it looks like it fades between this charcoal black with a little bit of sort of a navy blue, like truthfully kind of similar to Jaquet's typical fur. Except he's got these scars all over his face that kind of cut into where his mane would be this full, lush mane, and kind of leaves it sort of looking a little scraggly, almost like a human who has thinning hair. As he kind of looks and keeps your gaze as you're approaching, and you can see he inhales on the cigar, which lights up his face, kind of highlighting some of the shine on those scars against the black fur. And then as that cigar dims back down, you can see like his eyes, which were shown as this sort of bright amber gold orange color that almost glows in the dark, then subsides to the glow of the reflection of what little light is in this area, like looking at an animal in the dark of the forest. As you approach close enough to be at basically this very small wire fence that has just sort of like a simple wooden gate that you can open up, he just slams the butcher knife into the block and grabs a towel to wash at his hands. You can now see her just caked in fish blood as he puts out the cigar and watches you as you approach that gate, waiting to see if you step inside.
So there's this wire gate, and then is there like space, like a yard, and then the butcher area?
Yep, exactly. So it's like there's this wire fence, and then there's kind of this like area that probably at one point could have been a garden that is just now kind of like somewhat overgrown, probably whacked at every now and then with a scythe, but not really in a way that's keeping it perfectly clean. And the cobblestone has a lot of growth in it, but that has just kind of been stamped down by frequent passerbys. And there's clearly a section of this yard where that cart you saw earlier carrying the fish would normally go, that is left at this point. And it's at that point when you get close enough and you can see that where that cart probably was, you would also see that there is just sort of like off the side of the open butcher shop area is just sort of like this pulley that does have this chain hanging that just has a huge great white shark just hanging from it.
The gate, is it latched, or can I?
It's
push
not
it open
latched.
With a foot?
You
All
can
right,
push it
so
open with a foot.
Jaquet, still arms crossed, pushes it open with his foot, just enough to like kind of like slip in, and then lets it close behind as he stalks up to the open butcher shop. And if there's like a column that he can lean against, like on the like edge, he's going to lean against it, just staring down the Leonin.
Yeah, absolutely, there is. And you see as you do that, he grabs the... this is the first time he breaks eye contact with you. And I'll ask for a quick insight check.
Sure. 17.
You're not sure, just as you're possibly putting on a mask of sorts, you're not sure what to make of his expression. It's right now with the 17, it's a mingling of he may be impressed or he may be very angry. But he breaks eye contact with you and he grabs that torch out of a sconce in the wall, this very, very low torch, and kind of brings it around to his face. And now it lights up his face, and he steps forward so that it would light you up as well. And it's sort of like if you're standing at like kind of that first column of the open market area, he kind of steps to the side to meet you at a parallel column, lighting both of you up as he places that torch within a sconce there. Almost like he likes to keep this whole place dark except for wherever he directly is. and he leans against it as well, and he takes the cigar out of his mouth. Just looks at you, looks you up and down. They're looking for something.
Yeah. I'm looking for some work.
Got a name?
The name's LaRue.
No insight check needed for him to pause there. And it's that very sneering, not sneering, but very like cold face. A very, very, very slight grin comes over. If you weren't also a catfolk, you would have not noticed it. You would have just thought he was like adjusting for his large fangs. But you can clearly tell that this is an expression of amusement.
Heard about an upstart named LaRue crawling around these parts.
Now, see, that's a problem. Because I'm all about my privacy. And my previous employer didn't understand that. Went around shouting my name.
He takes another drag of the cigar and looks away from you, and you can tell he kind of like there's this little chuffing noise in his throat that's sort of this like smoker's laugh that he's holding in. And then he looks you up and down. How is the rapier out or the cutlass out and showing?
It would be kind of hidden, but as he looks me up and down, LaRue would actually like turn a little and like flip the trench coat back to show Hastings' sword.
And you see his eyes are drawn to that. There's almost a silent conversation happening between you two, where this was an inspection of prove it, like who you really are, like prove that the rumors are true. And he says exactly that as he looks at you. Goes,
I didn't believe the rumors.
Rumors always have a drop of the truth in it.
Can't mistake the ornamentation of the Defiance rank and file. Well, he was an arrogant man, so I'm sure he got what he deserved. This employer, care to enlighten me a little bit about who that is?
Told you, I appreciate privacy. I'm not gonna go around shouting who I work for. That's how I operate.
give me a persuasion roll.
$19.
In the corner of the screen, a little thing comes up that says the Leonin approves. No, he takes that and he looks at you and says,
No need to go any further then. You said you're looking for work. Yeah. I hope that this little loot,
as he points to the cutlass,
doesn't inflate your head. Work's work, right? Would you agree, LaRue?
Kind of like taking off the scabbard with the sword in it. LaRue looks at it
And he goes, I only took this because he made it personal. Usually I would never be so foolish as to broadcast my work.
Well, it was right of you to leave that employer, because your work has been broadcast. Or at least the rumors. But I was wondering, this does sort of answer the question of why some cheat would kill a connected man like Hastings.
At the mention of cheat, LaRue kind of pops the sword out of the scabbard a little and goes,
I'm sorry, what'd you call me?
Put your claws away. I can see that still. Yeah. You're still a little green. But ambition. I don't have need for an assassin or killer right now. Or cheat. But some of the boys flaked. Probably because of the murders going around town. So I might have some work for you.
leaning back in satisfaction, crossing his arms again. LaRue goes,
I'll prove to you I'm worth every copper.
Like you said, I value privacy with who I work with. You seem fast to make enemies.
My previous employer.
Yeah, well, I presume you've been working for a while if you knew to come down this alley.
Please, any rogue worth his weight would know where to come.
and at this, LaRue gestures to all the thieves' cant that's scratched into the thing, into the sign.
I suppose we didn't make it very subtle, but if you've been spending time here, you know this town is not so subtle. So, come on, come inside. Come inside. And he immediately kicks himself off the wooden pillar and starts heading towards these like leather flaps that are at the back of the open market. Inviting you in.
And LaRue joins him.
And the last thing I'll say for this is as he walks in, you hear him just yell inside, Alberto! We got someone fluent in here. Make the place decent. And you see this smaller Leonin comes out, who is dressed much nicer. So like clearly like this the main one is like I said, butcher's apron, bloodied up, rough. This guy kind of like looks even closer to a tabaxi, even though they are definitely still a Leonin. Just much more lithe. Same coloration of fur, except maybe a little more lively and youthful. Clearly younger, and probably the other brother of the De Leon brothers. And when you step inside, he leads you through. When you step through the leather curtains, there's sort of like two doors there. One that leads into kind of the shop proper, where you would see that Alberto Leonin, and then another one that he takes a key out and unlocks the door for, and leads you through. That as soon as you step into there, like it's like stone walls, no windows, leading you into basically a lower basement level. And as soon as you step in there, there is just a plethora of goods down there. You see just these sort of like long, like bars that just have key after key after key after key after key on them. You see a small little cage that you notice some creature in that has these little like bat-like wings, but has sort of like this reddish tinge to its skin. As you can see, its eye kind of leans over its shoulder. You can see this bright orange eyes of an imp staring back at you. You see all manner of weaponry, all manner of vials and tinctures. This is clearly the black market of the De Leon brothers. And he sits down on a stool over a glass case that has kind of a little bit of illumination in it. And he just holds out this very, very thick arm to shake your hand.
And Jaquet reaches out, shakes it.
Andres de Leon. Pleasure to meet you, LaRue.
And that's where we'll cut away.
All right, fantastic.
All right. So, back in the Otter business. So, Sass, you are very bright. You are on the far side, opposite the bar. I believe you said you were up against one of the like high tops against the wall, and just drinking, I imagine. Would you be like keeping an eye on Fyrn this whole time, or just sort of staring blankly?
I would have seen. Get out of here! I would have seen Lasha probably sit down with Fyrn and kind of like doing one of those things where like I looked and then I looked back and I'm staring straight ahead, but like wide-eyed and like getting redder and redder and redder in the face, like don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me, don't look at me. But also like I think then if I was at like a back table, I think then I would try and move closer so I could listen to what she's saying, but like be really think a drunk Saskia thinking she's being sneaky about it when it's really just like,
yeah,
I'm going.
And Fyrn, we'll jump into the conversation first, but as like sort of the first few interactions happen, I would say easily enough you would eventually kind of like notice out of the corner of your eye Sass kind of awkwardly approaching slowly, but we'll get into the conversation first. So Fyrn, for you had that quiet moment after the previous sort of like fan, for lack of a better way to put it, kind of like was there, brought you a drink, and was just sort of like it's later in the evening, so the fan was just sort of like, I can't believe the way you what was it? What would you call it when you picked her up and just slammed her on the ground? As he's just kind of recounting things to you that it's almost boring at this point because everyone's been recounting things to you before he would eventually step away with sort of one last lift of his cup, as then you would see Lasha sit down across from you. She has this sort of smeared black makeup on her face. She has her hood up. You can see, though, she is not like, even though she has her hood up, she's not exactly concealing herself from what you would have seen her look like before. Like, she's very clearly, you recognize her immediately. The gray skin with the black makeup that has sort of those rivers that have been dripped through it. She has the faded long coat on. You can see she wears loose harem pants that have kind of sea motifs on them. She has that pale chestnut hair that's in that kind of shaggy cut. But the only difference now is that she has her hood up as opposed to when you saw her first. And she just sits down and looks directly at you in the eyes. She doesn't say anything at first.
Is it obvious from me that she recognizes me? And like,
yes, based on the way she's looking at you, like she's not looking at you like I wanted to meet the champion. She's got a very stoic, pointed stare, and directly in your eyes, unwavering.
I look back at her, and I kind of, I don't sit right next to her, but I work my way towards, closer to her towards the table, and I say, Lasha, right? I believe, last time we met were on unfortunate circumstances. Can I get you a drink?
And it's at that point you see she just pushes the drink in front of her to the opposite chair, the table she's at, as if offering it to you. She doesn't have a drink of her own.
I take the drink. Thanks.
She sort of gestures for you to sit down. She then sort of crosses her hands over each other and leans forward and begins playing with a ring on her finger, waiting for you to sit down.
I do exactly as she asked me to, and I sit very comfortably on the chair, trying to keep things casual, or at least seeming casual.
And she looks you in the eyes with that very pointed look, but it seems to not, it doesn't fade away. In the sense that she's suddenly like casual and happy. She just sort of almost like looks past you as soon as you sit down and join the table. Her eyes become sort of dazed looking, and she kind of like, her movements become very fluid, almost as if she herself is in a trance, as she would just look at you and say, I didn't expect to run into you today.
Well, that's the other business for you. Always full of surprises.
She kind of looks around. Are the rest of your crew here? LaRue?
Why do you bring him up?
Oh, it's not every day that someone so braggadociously claims to have murdered someone. Captain of the Alumno Defiance. A well-connected sailor.
LaRue was a powerful ally, but after what went down and the way he handled things, it was not to my liking. We parted ways after that day.
When she's talking, she sort of looks around spacily, but when you talk, she's laser focused on you. And she like reaches forward and like, grabs your wrist, not in like an aggressive hold you way, but almost like in an eager for a moment. As she goes forward and goes, so you no longer run with his crew? Is that what you're saying?
He no longer runs with mine.
And your crew is Saskia?
I give a faint nod.
What was she doing there that night? What were you doing there that night? Did this LaRue hire you to kill Hastings?
I think you have something messed up. Hastings deserved to die. He had 3 chances with me. And every time, he tried to kill me. Now, I'm not one for revenge. But when a man is that vindictive, that evil, I'm obligated to do something. This isn't the place to talk about this.
This is exactly the place to talk about this.
Unless you'd like to come to the ship. And she gives this smile, and you can see kind of like this. Her teeth are not that well taken care of, other than her tusks.
I thought we could put this behind us, talk business. But if you are only out for revenge, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
I'm not out for revenge.
Then what are you here for?
Clearing the air. I have other business here, but I couldn't pass up the opportunity to visit you. It's been a few weeks. Is Saskia here?
I just give her this, like, vapid stare, as if I didn't even hear what she said. Maybe just take another sip of the drink. But eventually I stare into her eyes as if I'm, like, obvious that I'm not going to answer that question.
She sort of mimics you a little bit. Like, she doesn't have a drink, but she sort of lifts her hand up almost to mirror you a little bit. Sass.
Yeah.
You are just sort of wandering closer to try to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you knew Lasha. I mean, she wasn't your foremaster, but you knew her. And she was always strange. Very friendly, but always strange. She was typically rather quiet and isolated herself often. Unless she discovered...
That liked to read?
Yes. Yes. Unless she discovered you had a shared interest with her, and she would almost like info dump on you and latch onto your side. You remember she liked mystery novels.
Yeah.
But she was also very spiritual, with the sea particularly, and sort of the ritualistic makeup with the drips of seawater. So like seeing her kind of like have these odd gestures is very familiar to you.
Okay.
Where someone might find it off-putting, you would find it to be just how Lasha is.
How she is. Yeah. Okay.
But you haven't gotten close enough to hear what they're saying, and it's a very loud bar. You basically would have to be like sitting at the table next to them to hear them.
Yeah, I want to do that. So I think I would get. So here's what would happen. I would start. I would have like had like a burst of courage to be like, oh my god, this woman was there when we saw when we saw Hastings. I'm gonna go closer to make sure that Fyrn is okay, and then chicken out halfway, and then just kind of like stand there just holding the cup and like stuck in this do I keep going, do I not keep going, oh my god, I'm a terrible friend, oh my god, I need to get out of here, just like still spiraling.
So I'd say Fyrn, if you would like to notice this, you can, where she just out of the corner of your eye, you don't have to give it away.
I try my best not to.
Okay, yeah. I think you could easily take the opportunities when she's kind of looking about or talking to at least, you don't have to look at Sass, but you can tell Sass was approaching and that she's now standing, about probably like 5 or 10 feet back awkwardly
Very awkwardly.
Yeah, I imagine seeing Sass strikes a fire in me, and I look at Lasha and I say, tell me, why are you so interested in Saskia? How about Twigsnap or Cornelius? Aren't you going to ask me where they are?
Give me an insight check.
Dirty 20.
Nice.
this woman has very, very strange mannerisms. So what you might have passed off for kind of like a just sort of like truthfully, you might even pass her off as a little drunk based on her behavior. And you see she kind of like at that saying, you very clearly tell there's a shift in her demeanor as she no longer is kind of leaning forward. She takes her hand away from where it was on your wrist, and just sort of does this little like sway back, and her eyes sort of drift along the sway and then down to her hands where she starts to kind of caress that ring again, and then her eyes very swiftly meet yours again. Oh, I recognize you now. The stowaway.
That's right.
Even more curious. I thought you all were dead. Till I saw Saskia that night. Hastings told us you all were dead.
Of course he did. Why would he want to admit that he was the one who sent us to be abandoned on a desert island for months, eating rotted seagulls and fish? With that, I chug the rest of my drink and pound it on the table, and I yell at some random fan to get me another.
So were you looking for revenge?
I was not looking for revenge at first. I wished explanation. Maybe some sort of consolement. Why he did it. I'm not one to judge, but it would have been nice to get some reparations for completing a job and being left to die. That's not how things turned out. I found Hastings' plans, and he tried to kill one of my own. I did what I had to do to keep my people safe.
Did what you had to do. She looks at you. And you see she reaches back, and she doesn't make any kind of like, she makes it very obvious where her hands are going. She's not trying to reach for a weapon. In fact, you see no weapons on her. Like, there's no obvious weapons on her.
Fyrn, despite the seriousness of the conversation, is also acting very casually, almost like if she were to pull a weapon and hold it up to his neck, he wouldn't have a reaction. Like,
yeah. I imagine it's sort of like the cadence. Like, most of your cadence is casual, except for the pointed words that need to be said. Mm-hmm. And you see she reaches her hand into sort of this watertight basket she has at her waist, and you can see she grabs puts her hand around your hand on the cup, and then almost like pulls it to the side, almost as if doing a palm reading. And then she kind of just drops her other hand onto it, and you can see that and you can immediately kind of like feel the texture of it and smell of it, that she has a basket of seawater, and she just sort of drops it in your hand and sort of like almost seems to be almost palm reading with the water, but she just looks up at you and says,
I have no ill will towards you or Saskia. I respect your position. I have a lot of responsibility these days. And she now kind of like looks up to the mezzanine, and then she looks down at you pointedly. Captain Alina will feel different. You're safe on land. We won't come after you. But if you hear the bone chimes on the wind at sea, I can't protect you. And she lets go of your hands.
Lasha. Thank you. It's good to see that there's some that still have faith in their crew on the Bonerattler.
There were some who would think you did us a favor. Lena's a good woman, but she holds grudges. Goodbye.
Wait. Who were you looking? What's going on in this town? I saw you up on the mezzanine. What are you doing up there?
Oh, Governor Pajin is coming to Edja with the Commodore. All manner of pirate, criminal, and those who bend the law, who otherwise don't see themselves that way, should be preparing themselves for that visit.
Maybe I should do the same.
Oh, keep your nose clean. Stay on the other side of town. You'll be okay. She goes to get up. And stops as she kind of like is standing up now and looks to you and just kind of taps her nose at that and just says, remember to listen for the chimes at sea. And I suggest you just stay on land.
I give her a devilish smirk and say, I'll await those chimes. One day. You might not expect the outcome of that day, but you'll see.
Make sure to bring Saskia. She walks away. Fyrn, as she walks away, it's almost like the focus of the camera racks to Sass standing behind her, 10 feet behind her.
Do I still have the bag of seawater, or did she take that with her?
So she didn't actually put the bag in your hands. She basically like kind of cupped some seawater onto your hand and kind of rubbed it in.
Why would I let her do that? It's so weird.
Yeah.
All right,
And that can absolutely be going through Fyrn's mind of like, that is the weirdest woman I've ever interacted with.
What was there like any arcane, like did I notice her casting any magic or
you felt no
like
magic coming through that. It felt purely personally ritualistic with whatever spirituality she has. Which, you know, might, I mean, truthfully may match some of your experiences with other sailors or even some of the sailors from your homeland of just sort of, they spend enough time out on the sea and under the sun and, you know, see things out there that some of them come back with sort of esoteric spiritual beliefs.
And let me just confirm that I understand. The Commodore is the one that's in charge of Hyvin, right?
Ezha, the whole region.
Oh, okay. But he is like focused in like that's the house that we passed in the
Yes, she has
area?
she has a house in Hyvin up there. The manor in the upper district is her manor.
Okay. And how much would I know as Fyrn about Governor Pajin?
0, basically.
Okay.
Only that he's sort of the highest office in all of Aldhalor.
I go up to I return to being casually drunk with people, and I find a random guy or like somebody I've been talking to, and just say, "Sir, can you help me out? I'll buy you a drink. Just hand this note to the lady over there." And I do a quick point, like, you know, facing away from the mezzanine or wherever she was. I kind of just like point like that, you know, towards Saskia.
Okay.
And the note's just gonna say like, "Meet me out back."
Okay. Easy enough to do. There's enough people who are now all in a drunken stupor because of the celebrations of the fight that it's actually quite easy to sneak around in here. And get a note over to Sass, and the two of you can meet out back by the cliffside in the construction. There's basically no one outside except for Obert in the front, who is just sort of very casually leaning against the doorway, keeping an eye up and down the street.
Fyrn told all his buddies that he's going out to pee, so that's what he's doing outside when Saskia comes.
Are you peeing? Are you peeing off the edge of the cliff?
I was thinking about it, but I think he would be a little bit more shame.
Okay.
Like he would have a little more shame.
more
He's peeing
modest.
against the wall of the building.
Okay.
Classy. And then I would, you know, come out, see him doing that, and I'll be like, "Let me know when you're finished. I got your notes."
I spoke to your friend. She misses you.
Did she threaten you? Are you okay? Are we in big trouble?
No, she was civil enough. Warned us about going out on the seas, but
What? Why?
Well-
Why? What did she say? Why?
well, you know, the other woman, I forgot her name.
Alina?
Alina, yeah.
What's about
She's
her?
captain now. And I guess she holds a grudge.
Yeah. So she's what? So she says we can't go in the water? That's not going to fucking happen. I basically live in the water. I need to be in the water. So well, at least I'm fucked.
No, you're fine. They just gotta not know. The ocean's a big place, right? Bonerattler can't chase us everywhere.
Yeah, I suppose.
And as long as town's safe, we're safe for the foreseeable future. She did have some cryptic things to say about Governor Pajin and the Commodore.
Like what?
Sounded like they're gonna maybe bring order to this place. She said, keep my nose clean and stay out of this part of town.
So no
It
more
might
fight
be
tonight?
What?
No. So no more fight tonight for you? You can't come back here and fight? I don't think that's going to fly.
Yeah, I mean, I am gonna miss this place, but
You're just gonna stop? You're popular. You've got friends. People think you're cool. People think you're somebody in there.
There's
Really?
people in there. They're not my friends.
But they admire you.
Admiration
you
is well
just-
and good until it gets you killed.
Just somebody trying to kill you?
What Lasha said, I mean, it did sound a little foreboding. I just think that we need to get on the right side of things.
And what is that, Fyrn? What's the right side of things?
Well,
what
we
would you
gotta
say that is?
get into this Commodore's good graces. Maybe
Mhm.
talk to him, show him that we're,
I believe the Commodore is a
upstanding and
woman.
what?
Did you say governor or did you say Commodore?
Commodore.
She's a woman.
Commodore's a woman thing?
Yeah.
I thought that was gender neutral.
No, you said he, and her pronouns are she, is a woman.
Oh, got it. This is Clayton and Fyrn, by the way.
Yeah, that was Saskia and Shannon. Well, okay, so it's pretty simple then, right? We just stay out of here and stay away from. Okay, we can't stay away from water. That's not simple. Maybe you can, but I can't because I got to talk to people in the water.
You'll be fine. Trust me.
Yeah, okay. It's easy for you to say when you're somebody.
What do you mean I'm somebody?
You're somebody. People know who you are. You're just somebody. And I'm just gonna spiral off into nonsense.
And, unless you have some. Bye.
Fyrn just kind of scoffs at her and says, "You're somebody to Lasha.
That's
She
nice.
asked a lot about you."
She's weird, but I like her. I'm weird, so we were kind of weird together. It was nice.
At that moment, you would then hear a guy step out into the construction area and just start throwing up.
Oh, been there, friend. Sorry.
And you can head back inside or start to plan to head back to the tavern, but we'll probably cut ahead to when later in the evening.
Yeah, I would say we'd probably head back to the tavern. Or, I would go back inside for a little while and, close out my tab or, talk to a few people. I don't know if
Start
Oshta's
walking
around, but, I'd say hi and whatever, and then, head back.
You can finish up whatever you need to do in there and then catch up with Sass, as she's probably going to be stumbling, and you can catch up with her and head back to the Cask and Crow to spend the night. Back at the Cask and Crow are two artificer friends have been spending their afternoon there since they returned the cart. Bruce and Septimus had split from the group to go return the cart and submit the receipts that Jaquet handed to them for your expenses for the trip. And the two of them, having a lot to think about, basically just returned to the Cask and Crow to get their room and continue working on some of their outstanding projects. I imagine for a good chunk of this time, it was ensuring that Sal was good and fixed up properly, doing any other mending that you're possibly able to do, while Bruce, you are working on your personal project based off of your blueprints of what a bird looks like. I'd say, throughout the day, different things succeed, fail, but ultimately you're both able to succeed in the projects, or at least the work you had for this day. Sal is every hour looking a lot more himself. He still is going to have certain scars from his going down, but with every hour you're also gaining more of an intimate knowledge of Sal. it's not so much that you're learning new things, so much as you're securing knowledge you've already kind of learned about Sal and being like, okay, this is definitely how these engravings work within the heart within Sal. These is definitely sort of, these runes clearly have something to do with the overall structure. While Bruce, after helping Septimus a little bit, you're able to spend some hours on your own project. As I imagine, almost like you two are like just silently working together within your room. Just like one of you like has their stuff. Bruce, I imagine you have your stuff on the floor in the middle of the room working on it, while Septimus, you're kind of in the opposite side, just sort of working with Sal, making sure that you're doing. I almost imagine you're doing like at a certain point like a physical for Sal. You're like, all right, now put your hand on your nose.
Yeah, I'm calibrating all of like his movements and stuff, because you did say after he kind of had like a little bit of limp in his arm.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure how much we can amend that, but that would be the main attempt, is to get him at least functional, and then any cosmetics will come after.
Yeah, I'd say by the end of this night, you would be able to get Sal at, I'll say 99% functionality, and then over the next few days, that'll shore up to the 100%. And Bruce, you can, with maybe a little bit of help from Septimus after finishing up with Sal, get to the final steps of your little experiment as well. So I'll say at this point, it's late at night. You are finishing up with Sal, and Bruce, you are kind of in those final steps, and it's just the two of you.
Did anybody give you any crap for bringing Sal in here? I didn't really see. I was kind of ahead of you, John.
Well, we came in at night, and I did shroud over him.
You came in at noon.
Okay, well, why
okay.
bring this up now?
But Sal you would have been able to keep Sal in the cart though, and then shroud him to bring him back to the tavern.
Okay.
Or it's up to you. You could also have just been very brazenly let him come back and suffer the looks.
Didn't want to do it too much yet in Hyvin. But maybe like just to get him in the building.
Yeah. Because it wouldn't be a very long trip.
Yeah.
So yeah, easy enough to have done it as discreetly as possible.
Did the barkeep see, or did anybody take note of it? I guess.
No, I haven't heard anything.
I'm gonna say that you guys have not experienced any direct confrontation. There might be some people who are now kind of like questioning it a little bit, or took notice. This wouldn't be probably in Hyven's history. This wouldn't be the first time a Machina has come through. But it is rare, so anyone who did see you would take note. The bartender would not have... if she noticed, she would not have made a huge deal out of it, unless something happens.
Yeah.
She's not from the region. She's a transplant from Gwenfleer, so she's kind of like...
Right, I remember her saying that. Yeah.
As long as you don't cause problems, I don't care.
That's what I figured, is like, just get her in the building, or get Sal in the building.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Oh, good. As long as nobody saw you. I haven't heard any wind. How's he looking?
He's about there. I think I got him almost back to where he was, where we originally started. I can't seem to mend some of the gash, that little crack in the centerpiece. It's a little more beyond the skills I have right now, but just by his movements and me directing him, he looks all right.
Good. I'm glad to see Sal. Sal, how you feeling? You doing?
Sal just kind of lifts an arm up. It's his slightly weaker arm, so it kind of like doesn't extend all the way, and it's still a little kind of floppy.
Bud.
He actually even, like, almost like looks at it like he like doesn't fully understand, and he kind of like tries to wave his hand up so that it stays up, and it doesn't quite, and then he shakes it all up, and then kind of like seems to be a little bit more together.
This is the best I was able to do in the time that we had. Hoping after some more time, countless nights, can hopefully fix those little tweaks.
Okay. Hey Sal, why don't you put your arm out for me? Just straight out.
He does so.
And Bruce unveils his his little project. And thank you again for helping me out with my bird here. I'm gonna see if it can fly to Sal's arm now. All right.
And as you grit the lollipop in your mouth and kind of push the few parts that need to be pushed together last, then with a quick try to ignite the bird, so to speak. What does this bird look like?
It looks somewhat like a woodpecker. And it's got like, it doesn't have actual bird feathers on it, but there's stuff that like Bruce is trying to hide, that it's a lot of mechanical parts.
Yeah.
And especially like he's got some material covering the center part that he replicated kind of like Sal's core a little bit. It's like a artificial, I don't know, I guess both artificial, but it's a replica of what Sal has on a smaller scale. And I imagine Septimus helped.
I was gonna say, if you want to use one of those, I feel like the perfect vessel for its core would be one of the quartzes you took. We kind of did a makeshift.
Exactly my thought too. Yes, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, exactly what Pershko said.
Absolutely.
We kind of took that, smoothed it out, did a little gem cutting, and then took another silver and did some sort of wiring and connective pieces.
Yeah, I'm imagining, all of this, very this sort of amalgam of parts and moving pieces around this quartz gem in the center that is holding on to a light that is sort of the power source of this bird. And I'm imagining, like, what kind of materials would you have put onto the bird as sort of like makeshift covering and feathers? Like are we talking like just some ripped burlap that's sort of layered on it, or
I imagine there's a little bit of that on like the main part of the body. There might even be like for the feathers, there might even be like a little bit of string, kind of like he went to Michael's and got some
got some yarn.
I imagine there would be like a couple of feathers on there, but he knows he needs to glue on some better ones.
Yeah.
So you went out for an hour to the local hen house and just like gathered some like feathers from the chickens. Like...
Bruce doesn't see a lot of birds, all right? He thinks it's all right.
No, I imagine at some point.
I mean, I would help in any way I did that like made it pull off.
I mean, Bruce, you could easily have like either one of you could have easily just sort of been like laying in bed for a second and realized there were probably some feathers inside these pillows that you could pull out. But yeah, I imagine at the very least there's sort of like some like overlapping layers of burlap that's kind of like covering the main sort of like maybe like chest and back where the core would be, and you could just kind of see like a little bit of light coming through. And I imagine the string and loose feathers are all kind of on what are supposed to be the wings, and maybe a little bit on the head, to create this sort of like if a closer eye from anyone would see that there's some sophisticated artificing going on here, but like someone walking on the streets would be like, that's a neat toy that you made by yourself with whatever is around your house. But yeah, as you sort of give your kind of like little like, nah, the command of like, you see like the bird, like you kind of ignite the quartz, and the bird kind of like twitches, and like the one of the wings kind of like comes up, and like all the parts are just starting to like get into position and like become comfortable with one another, where like something might have been slightly off, it like snaps into place, and the bird just sort of like slowly like tries to stand up, and like very much like a hatchling, like is like doesn't 100% know what it's doing, but like very quickly, like much quicker obviously than a real life bird, starts to figure out its own parts as it just sort of like flaps one wing and then like lifts the other one. And you can see it kind of like jumps, and like the quartz you can see kind of gets brighter as it's in the air, and it like almost glides in place for a second and then drops down, and then immediately looks up at you, Bruce.
Go on, try again.
It's alive. I can't believe I know we were tinkering at it, but I didn't expect it to find a soul to find this vessel so quickly.
I might have found a dead bird the other day. Kind of took its essence and put it in
So where you can also at this point notice that some of the parts are bones, I imagine.
Yes.
It's like bones mingled with metal.
Oh, I guess I wasn't paying attention when you were coating the exterior with material.
Yeah. I don't know what I was doing there.
But it looks good. I'd say best from a distance. People think that maybe it was you dressed up your pet bird in a costume.
All right, that's probably all right for now. I'm going for perfection.
It says the two of you are kind of talking about the aesthetics of the bird. It does like very quickly then suddenly like flap its wings and just flies right up to Sal's arm and starts to kind of like hop along the arm like a bird on an electrical line. And you can see Septimus. Give me a perception check with advantage.
Ooh. 12.
Okay. That's enough for something. You would notice that like as the bird is landed on Sal's arm, you can see everywhere its feet kind of like tap on his armor. You just see very faintly some of the runes. You know how like there's sort of that micro runes that create kind of like that design on him. They just kind of light up a little bit wherever the feet are.
I'll just make a mental note of that.
It did it. Oh, it did it. I don't know what gender it is. Doesn't matter.
Bird flies up in the air and starts to circle in the room now.
It seems to be quite comfortable in its new body, which is good.
I can't believe you're able to just take dead things' souls and put it into other things.
Well,
all right.
Well, I'm still learning as well. But
that's pretty cool. I'll do some more modifications on it. That workshop was incredible. Should we go get some drinks downstairs and share more tales of what we've learned?
I suppose some time away for reprieve does sound tempting. I'll join you in chatter, but like I've said before, I don't indulge in
ale,
alcohol.
How about a lollipop?
So I'll just have some tea.
All
right. So the two of you can head down to the restaurant area and get a tea and an ale. The ale will cost you 1 silver. The tea will cost you 5 copper. Or you can go for the real cheap tea. That's 2 copper.
No, that's okay.
It's mostly stems.
Yum.
I would say it is not long that you're down there before you would hear the door open, and Sass and Fyrn would be catching up, or at least Fyrn would be catching up with Sass and arriving.
Sass stumbles in, very, very drunk.
Fyrn also stumbles in, but significantly less drunk.
After I imagine just us getting our drinks and be like, case in point, like quietly just to Bruce as they come in.
Wow. Speak of it.
Oh, so quick thing, just to interject before we get into the dialogue. When we were, Trishan, when we were back at the academy in the library, and I was learning about,
Eyeless.
Thank you. I had it there. I had it ready to go. Eyeless. Was I allowed to take like a book or something with me? Or was it all just
yes,
there?
you. If you would have been allowed to take one book with you.
Okay, perfect.
And you would, generally speaking, just to give you kind of a brief little like what you know about Eyeless, you know that he was called the Old Man in the Sky, was sort of the colloquial nickname for him. That he was the kind of, in a lot of ways, the local deity before kind of things started to be a little bit more industrialized. And from your understandings, rapidly sort of worship of Eyeless as this sort of catch-all for the elemental spirits has declined rapidly in the countryside, particularly in the central Asia, in exchange for either general spirituality or worship of Ilyuvanya.
Okay, thank you. That's just a quick thing, sorry.
Sure.
Is she all right? Kind of speaking out a little louder, directed towards Fyrn there.
I'm fine.
How about you come take a
Fine.
seat at our table?
Okay.
Maybe a water?
Yeah, I'll go get her a water.
What have you guys been up to?
After some work, Sal's nearly 100% repaired, which is...
That's great.
Yeah, he's almost his old self. Still has a bit of a twitch in his arm, but maybe with a little bit more time, he'll be back to full strength.
That's so exciting.
And I was able to help Bruce with a new little companion he wanted to work on.
Oh?
Yeah, I made a makeshift bird. Flies around. Haven't given it a name yet.
You made... I'm sorry.
I made a bird.
You made a bird.
Yeah, I made a bird.
Mechanically.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I figured.
I mean,
does it fly?
yeah, it does. It's flying in our room right now.
Well, we've got to think of a name for it.
Yeah. You got any ideas?
Give me a minute. Flappy.
Ah.
Well, it's made of
Because
steel,
it flies,
right?
right? Steel birds can still flap their arms.
I just imagine
Wings,
it's
whatever
not
the
a
fuck.
flappy noise. It's probably more of a clacky
It's
noise.
not the noise, it's the motion, Fyrn.
So would you call it clacky?
Clacky's
No.
good.
No.
Clacky
How about-
bird?
How about Clucky? I know it's not a chicken, but...
It's like a yes, no, that's...
Make it a chicken.
It's already what I hold on 1 second. So the woodpecker.
Pecky. Pecky's good, right? It's kind of
like
like
it.
Peggy.
What about... No. No,
I'll
hold
go
on.
with clacky.
No, that's
Or-
stupid.
Clacky. I already like Clacky.
Well, you seemed very hesitant to like it at first, so I'm glad you like it. Anyway, what were you guys up to?
I mean, a cute name goes a long way.
Fyrn won a bunch of fights.
Yeah, you know, typical debauchery and roughhousing that you expect from that part of town. I did get one good piece of news, though, that you two might be interested in. There's
Oh.
there's a guy. His name's the governor, Governor Pageant. He's
Side-
coming to town. Pageant. Pageant. Well, the Pageant's coming to town, and the Commodore is gonna be hosting him, and apparently he's gonna clean this whole town up. You know, put good fighters like me out of business.
The governor is coming here to Hyvin?
Yeah,
When
that's
is,
what I
Why?
heard.
When?
when is that happening?
Soon.
Wow. I knew that banditry and piracy was pretty bad recently, but for the governor to make an appearance is...
What does it mean? Why was the governor come?
Well, we
Can't
do
say for
know
sure,
that.
but it means it's a big deal. He runs all of Alfda Islands.
Oh,
He is
he's a somebody. He's a big somebody.
being the leader of the Alfda Islands, yes.
Mm. That's big somebody.
Coming
Did
down
I-
the stairs. So I don't know how
Did
this
I take him in a fight?
I was about to Discord you to say come in whenever you want.
Yeah. You all see Jaquet coming down the stairs, kind of like shaking his fur a little, but he looks normal to you all.
As he goes, "Oh, what's this about the governor? Commodore?
Apparently,
Someone's?
Fyrn had a conversation at the bar where Governor Saipajan of the Alfda Islands will be visiting Hyvin, brought by the Commodore of Hyvin herself.
Hey,
Those could
keep
be
your
some
voice
pretty-
down. Fyrn's been talking louder than him the whole time.
Those could be some pretty good friends that we can make. You know, you always want to be rubbing elbows with those on the top.
Where the fuck
Yeah.
did you go? You left
Ah.
us at the bar. Where'd you go?
Well, you seemed sad enough, and Fyrn was, you know, celebrating. So I came back here, had some free drinks in the room.
That's unlike you. I thought you'd be flaunting your stuff all night, trying to, you know, get people's cash for money for dancing and stuff.
I don't
Money for
dance, Fyrn. I'm not a common whore. What do you
But
think
you
I
don't
am?
sing and you don't play an instrument.
I play the hand drums pretty damn well, thank you very much. As he does a little rap-a-tap-tap on his hand drums.
Hand drums.
Fyrn
his ham
does
drums.
a similar rap-a-tap-tap on the table of the bar. It says, I guess I'm a performer too then. Rap-a-bing-ba-bung-ba-bum.
This is why I left. Because you annoy me.
All right, calm down. I'm just making fun. I didn't
Well,
mean
you
to
know,
piss you
I
off.
have a gig tomorrow at the Harlequin Chalice, so if you want to see what a real performer fucking does, come by.
I will.
Speaking of tomorrow, should we go see Sigil in the morning?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Did you all give them the receipts that I handed off to you?
Yeah.
That equals about 722 silver
Yeah, I
and
saw
8
those
copper.
receipts. We'll discuss it later.
Wait. We did not make it to. No. Sorry, Jaquet. We spend most of our time here. Me making repairs for Sal. But we still have the receipts here. We can all go tomorrow.
Bruce built a bird.
You name it Lollipop?
No, it's
Oh,
Clacky.
that's a good one. Name it.
I know it's a good
Lollipop.
one because I came up with it.
No, just
You see the bartender
How
comes
about Lolly?
over. Damn, bartender was about to suggest that.
nah.
Well, the bartender puts a coffee down for Sass.
Thank you.
I
You're
like
yelling, darling, by the way.
No, I'm not.
She walks away.
No.
I like Lollipop. That's a good one too. I'll ponder. Clacky, Lollipop.
Can I call it Lolly? 'Cause I think that's cuter.
I might have to.
Mhm. Well, you didn't take Flappy, which clearly is the superior name.
Well, it didn't make
Superior!
noises.
Superior. It's not about the noise, it's the motion.
It's the motion.
What would you call this motion of a bird?
It
What was any of
depends
you?
what kind of noise does it make?
It's not about the noise. It's...
For once, I agree with Saskia. It's flapping. She is flapping her arms, and I assume this bird flaps its wings.
Thank you, Jaquet.
That would be correct.
However, Lollipop is the right name. Anyways, if we're done discussing the names of Bruce's stupid thing, we should all go to bed and wake up because tomorrow we get our fucking reward. Don't you all want your fucking money?
Yeah!
What is this, Christmas?
I yell really loudly.
By the hells, I swear, you all would rather sit around a table talking than actually get anything done.
Yeah, probably.
As Jaquet turns to go to bed.
Can I sleep on the couch again?
There's a pause. Like you hear Jaquet's feet going up, 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 up until he thinks he's far enough away, where you just hear yes, and then he quickly goes into the room and closes it behind him, so you do not enter with him. There's something in his mind where the two of you cannot enter together.
Well, then as soon as you close the door, I open it again. I was right behind you. What you doing?
Scared me.
Ooh. I'm a witch.
You're a hog. I'm sorry. That was mean.
I'm not so hot.
No, you're a hog catcher, which is a great, back home, hog catchers were...
Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
And he just goes about his routine to go to bed.
Love it.
I collapse face down on the couch and just instantly snoring.
Excellent. Imagine the rest of you.
Yeah, we'll go to bed too, I guess.
Fyrn definitely stays up late, drinking at the bar here.
Okay. Ales will cost you 1 silver each. Harder stuff will be more.
It would just be ales because that's what he's been drinking this whole time.
Yeah, they're probably still serving for another hour here, so you can get a few more drinks in. And yeah, I mean, Bruce and Septimus can hang for a little bit, but then eventually you all find yourselves back in your rooms to rest for the evening. And easily enough, the morning comes. Another night here, or actually, this is the first night here. For Fyrn and Sass. Well, Fyrn, you have your own room, and you stayed up pretty late and got pretty drunk. I mean, not as drunk as Sass, but you probably wake up a little later.
Yeah, and imagine, like, if the bartender doesn't say anything, I might just be sleeping on the bar.
She would definitely say something.
Eventually
she actually does a proper, like, close everything down. She would, at some point in the night, she would have just started pushing you. And be like, all right, big guy, it's time for bed. And she would
get
walk
home
you
late, too. Yeah.
she would walk you to your room very kindly and but the entire time being like making sure you know how late you're making her stay. Jaquet, you would wake up the next morning to a very loud snoring Sass on your couch. Exactly, yes. You can choose to wake her up or leave her there and head down to breakfast.
Nah, he'll let her lie. Though he's not being quiet about his morning routine, which is, fairly involved. Ritual summoning Robespierre to help him with his laundry and getting dressed and everything. He does, curling his mustache, brushing his fangs. Teeth, they're just teeth. They're not really fangs. And then before he goes down.
Yeah, Sass, I imagine none of this is enough to, like, fully wake you up, but, like, keep you, like, going in and out of sleep.
Yep,
So,
I'm very, very, very hungover.
and Septimus, I imagine you have your typical routine, and Bruce, you can wake up soon after.
And I'd like to add, and you can catch me or not, when I'm doing my ritual nest to sow on my arm, if the bird's around, I'll throw it a little little attention as well. Now that we have a newfound mechanical partner,
I
it's still needs to
imagine
be respected.
I imagine the bird, like, Bruce made it so it looks like a rock when it's in like a resting position. It like curls up into this little oval ball, and it could rest on Sal's head.
Amazing.
Yeah, I love that. And I imagine as you're performing your morning rituals with Sal, like anointing him and whatnot, like you do like a very like quick little anointment for the bird. And I almost imagine like sort of like just like drip, like holding your fingertips over as a few drops of anointed oil drip onto the rock, and you see like it immediately like reforms into the bird at that point, and kind of shakes its head for a second and looks up at you, Septimus.
Welcome, young friend.
It immediately starts flapping in circles in the room. I love the idea of that rock too, because it also like makes into sort of like a makeshift Pokemon. Like if you just have the rock and just like Flappy go, Lollipop go.
Luckily, it's a bird, and so Bruce doesn't need to be accurate when he throws it.
Exactly. But those of you who wake up early can gather in the breakfast hall to soon be joined by your other two compatriots, unless there's anything you want to do before everyone's all together.
Nope.
Cool. So, the five of... Yeah.
I will give the bartender a big tip for last night.
Okay, how much do you give her?
Let's say 5 silver.
Great. She happily pockets it and gives you a new, fresh smile. Like she literally was like had a scornful look, and as soon as you tip her, it just turns immediately into customer service smile, and she's thank you very much, Mr. White-Eye.
Yeah. Think nothing of it.
And the five of you can meet up to prepare for the day.
Morning, all.
All right. After we eat our breakfast respectively, let's do we take the horses over there? The carriage? We owe them carriage, right? Or is that
You brought that over yesterday. Remember when you weren't here?
Oh, right. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You know, forgetting parts of the day.
Well, we gotta get a reward. Was there anything else that people wanted to do?
Eventually get access to the artificer's workshop, but
Artificer.
artificer.
Do they fish?
Saskia here, right?
No.
All right.
No, to Jaquet's point, I
Hello,
would like to get
Lollipop.
paid very much.
Yes.
So if we're all done with breakfast, I would like to go have a word with Sigil myself.
There you go.
I mean, I feel like I need payoff at something with everything that we've experienced.
Oh yeah, me too.
I'd also like to maybe check up on that Kellen guy from the newspaper.
First, we should probably actually do some investigating before we go check in on him. Right?
But I mean, we found
Probably.
him. We saw him at the bar. He was up in the mezzanine last night.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
but
yeah.
again, but before we start another quest, let's just complete the one that we have.
Right.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't want to be called 90%. We gotta follow through.
It's now in the clear light of day, and that you're actually kind of like sitting quietly with her, that Bruce and Septimus would notice that Sass has what looks like a very infected cut on her face.
Is it still? Is
Red
it
streaks
still
coming off of it still.
Oh
great?
What
Oh,
happened
fuck.
there?
my gosh!
What?
It's pussing. I can even see that.
Oh, oh, fuck. It's nothing. I scraped it on a rock. It's fine.
rock.
It might have been nothing.
It's fine. It doesn't hurt
Have
that
you-
bad.
Did you look in Jaquet's mirror? Hold on, I might
No.
have something.
No, it's
How did you
really,
get-
really,
how'd you-
really, it's fine. It's
How
fine.
did you get that?
I ran into a rock. I went into the water for a swim, and I came out. And as I was coming out, I scraped it on a rock.
I'm gonna try to do a little. Hey,
It's ow, ow!
Cure
It's
wounds.
come
come here.
No, it's fine.
I'm gonna take a metal plate and just slap it on her cheek real quick.
Yeah,
And,
Fuck!
it stings.
Cure wounds.
Ow!
Bruce, for goodness sake, leave the poor girl alone.
What? No.
You're so bad at this.
Did it do anything? Did the cure wounds do anything?
The red streaks retract. It is no longer pussing, but it is still, the wound is still there.
Oh, I peel it off. Oh. Well.
Thank you.
Sorry.
I think. Give me a fucking
it hurt?
warning next time. Yes, it fucking hurts.
Be a little
All right, well-
gentle next time. I'm not saying your skills are not there, but my gosh, she still feels pain.
At least give me a warning.
I'm
all
sorry,
right?
I didn't mean to be so aggressive there. That's not how I was really
Is it-
trying to.
No, it's you should when you do that in combat, just go up and slap people in the face with metal. I think that would work.
Maybe use an actual weapon or something.
Maybe next time.
Baby
I
steps.
think she means thank you, Bruce. Let's
I said
get
thank
going.
you. I said thank you.
And
She
as
did.
as you are complaining about
what?
whether or not she gave thanks, as you step out the door, having paid your
Did you just
breakfast
roll
bill.
sacred flame damage?
Yeah, sorry.
So absolutely, you can start heading through the streets of Hyvin, heading up towards the academy. You can have your papers all ready to get through the gates. There's no problem there, and it's quite simple to move through the.
I was gonna say, do the guards recognize Jaquet when he comes in?
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Yeah, like they may not like immediately like come up and be like oh, Mr. Touchard, but they definitely like
Right.
recognize you and are very, very nice.
Jaquet makes small talk, asking about like family,
Absolutely, and they're absolutely open. Like they're not like being like, why are you asking us this? And he's like, yeah, I don't know, my son's just getting into a lot of trouble.
To be clear, too, I'm leaving Sal in the room. I'm not taking him.
Right. Bird
You
in
mean
rock
to-
form or leaving the bird?
Yeah, you know what? I'll bring the rock.
Yeah.
Ollie rock.
Lolly rock.
Yeah, it's less noticeable than a freaking Goliath stomping around.
True. But easy enough. You have everything to get through, so there's no one stopping you. You're immediately brought in to the university. And actually, this time they don't actually force you to take the teleportation circles. You actually get a brief sort of walkthrough towards the library instead, where you can actually like it's sort of almost like a sign of respect. Your chaperone, so to speak, is still quiet and quite rude when you do ask
Is
him
it the
questions.
same person?
It's the exact same guy. Yeah.
This fucking.
But he doesn't really. He's not as rude. He just simply is kind of not really giving you the time of day. He's just sort of like, I am going to fulfill my function here and then get back to work. And he leads you out of the kind of welcome center / sort of pseudo gatehouse, out into the open courtyard of the entrance, which is much nicer than going down into a basement and teleporting. You can see these very well kept cobblestone pathways with large swaths of green grass. You enter into this main courtyard, and there is sort of this mosaic built into the stones of the courtyard, depicting sort of an image that you don't quite know who the person is. You might presume this could be whoever's in charge of the whole university, a headmaster of sorts, or maybe you could even maybe surmise it to be the Commodore potentially. But it does have this sort of loose female form that kind of has her hands held out down, and you can see sort of the 4 symbols there, each representing each of the schools of the academy. seeing one that has a combination of a sort of the form of a sheep with a shepherd's crook crossed with a sickle. You see one that has the image of a tome, and then above that tome is sort of like this one's probably actually the nicest looking because it has this tome, and then kind of bleeding out of the tome are sort of symbols for musical notes and sort of a chromatic display of colors in sort of a wave, or more like a sort of a waving ribbon. You see one that's very obvious because it's a gear. And then you see one that has is just sort of a strange symbol actually that a lot of you haven't seen before. That is a it's a snake crawling up a staff, and the snake has wings. And these four seem to be representative of the schools here. As you see, the sheep with the crook and sickle is sort of has this green and brown theme to it. The book with the chromatic ribbon and music notes coming out has sort of a red warmth to it. The gear with some other runes kind of carved around it has a violet vibrance to it. And then the staff with the flying snake has a blue motif, a sapphire motif to it. But you're led past this courtyard where you can see there are some folk milling about. Since it's rather early in the day, you can see there's some groundskeepers tending to some gardens, some of the trees and the landscaping of this place, and a few students rushing about for the Thursday morning classes. As you are led directly across this courtyard and across some of the green and quad to a very large sort of great hall that you can kind of recognize as the library that you would have gone to. There is a wrought iron fence around it where you can see that quad that you had seen prior that had the crystalline trees and the students experimenting on animals and elementals and the other sort of buildings that were housing some of these experiments. And then beyond, in the left and right, you would see other buildings of various designs, some of them looking a little bit older, more gothic, and then some looking a little more contemporary, like you would have seen up in the streets of this district. But eventually enough, you get to the large pillared entrance hall that leads to the massive two doors that open up into Sigil's library. And your footsteps echo until you eventually get to Sigil's office, where your chaperone would leave you, and you could knock on the door if you'd like.
I knock on the door.
The door immediately opens as one of those spindly clockwork automatons kind of shrinks itself and steps out, and kind of like steps to the side to let you all in. And as you step into Sigil's office, there is sort of a disembodied music playing in there with no obvious source. You don't see a gramophone. All the books kind of stacked up high in the circular chamber. A kettle is heating up on the stove. And you can see Sigil is writing in a large tome as he places it down and looks up and stands to greet you all. Ah, adventurers, you've returned.
Yes, and we come bearing, well, at least I think, pretty good news about the situation in Billowgrass.
Well, I was happy to see that you returned your Academy's horses and cart in one piece, and I assumed that must have meant there was some great success. Tell me, what did you accomplish?
Into town, I found it pretty torn by the disease that you had described to us. Many people had moved on, moved away. There wasn't many of those left. We did meet a couple that were afflicted with the condition that you had mentioned. We came to the source of it. It was a group of bandits that had been posted about 10 miles outside of town. It seems that they were conducting some sort of experiment. They were feeding Bruce, you have the sample here, correct?
Yeah.
They were creating this crystalline, we'll call it a drug or narcotic, but it's infused with magical purposes. They were distributing it to the townspeople, and that was the cause of their illness. The change of the sclera to blue, the eventual maddening and paranoia to eventually wandering and roaming away. We think it had something to do with the tampering with the spirits that were within the collective that were there.
And you see Sigil would stand up and come over to observe the samples that you're showing. And you can see, like, he's got the same seashell gradient mask on where you could just see his eyes. He doesn't have a cloak and hood on. He more has sort of like a head scarf wrapped around that's black, as he's wearing a coat with a waistcoat underneath. He looks, truthfully, he looks much more professorial this time around than the kind of like sage he's looked like before, with rather professional clothing at this point. And he comes over and he still has those white gloves though on his hands that conceal any skin, as he would come over and observe the different material that you're showing the crystal. And he looks, and as you're saying all this, he looks to Bruce. Bruce, you're from Halcyon, correct?
That's right. Why do you ask?
Well, from some of my understandings, there are some of these narcotic problems in some of the undergrounds of that vast city. Have you ever heard of such things?
Would I?
You can do a roll if you'd like.
I feel like Bruce would have an idea, but to the extent, I don't know.
So I would say, why don't we roll for the extent? You definitely have heard of this, but let's roll for the extent of it. And I'm thinking like probably
history.
Yeah, I was thinking probably history.
If he gets a nat 20, does that mean he gets a special lollipop?
Yeah, he gets a.
I got inspirational lollipop claim.
Yeah.
I got a 15.
15. Okay. So you have heard of some of the kind of like underground areas of Halcyon. When I say underground, they're really like areas that are like kind of completely most of the sun is blocked out from like the tall buildings around it and other structures that are above it, rail lines, like a bunch of stuff that's just turned a section of the city into it's shady in the literal terms, shady, and the good and bad shady. And there are you do know that there is a problem of mind altering drugs and anesthetics that are used frequently. You actually know that there's sort of like this strange. You know this because of your artificer background, that there is like a lot of shady artificers in these parts of town that are also sort of mingled with these people known as ether alchemists, who are essentially sort of like, for lack of a better way to put it, the drug manufacturers and dealers of Halcyon. But that's probably the extent of it that you know.
Okay. Yeah. I'm very aware of some referred to as drug use in Halcyon. Do you think this was brought in from the outside? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, I'm not certain. These bandits...
It might have been the... Sorry?
These bandits, they seem sophisticated or from
So I
other
was
parts
going
of
to
Aldhalor?
allude to my next point. It's a band of them about 20 strong, led by, it varied back and forth from the encounter we have with them. It started with a smaller man, but he seemed to be ousted by the second command, who was a dragonborn. But they were taking orders from a man named Dalen, who was a half-orc. And albeit during our conflict with getting rid of these bandits, he did get away. We fought him briefly, but it seemed, though, that Dalen was hiring these bandits to conduct the work for him. As far as the exact nature of why they were doing this, it seemed the bandits did not quite know. They were hired to do this job by an employer, and that was it. But the bandits have been defeated, although Dalen did get away.
It did seem, however, that Dalen's time there was almost experimental. He was very interested in what this drug did to the individuals. I spoke with one of the other bandits who seemed to think that this was only the beginning of something bigger.
Beginning. Did he indicate any understanding of Dalen's motivations?
No, though it seemed like Dalen was in this more than just for coin.
Yes. It seemed they particularly picked Billowgrass for its small population to be a sort of pilot in whatever larger project there.
It's isolation as well.
Yes.
And the isolation of Billowgrass has affected the region significantly. Are there any other samples or items or artifacts you've brought back from this?
Jaquet looks over at Fyrn and Sass like,
Don't look at me. I wasn't the one that was carrying it.
Oh, no, I was just trying to make a funny aside between the three of us.
Oh.
Well,
Ian looks a little frustrated and then says, hypothetically, if we did have an artifact that contained a powerful elemental force, one ancient and capable of causing mass damage in a large scale,
But also really good things like bringing people back to life.
what would you want us to do with that? Clearly it's not safe to bring into the town.
I suppose this is a good opportunity to speak on future collaborations and protocol for such things. But first, before I get into that, was there any other collaborators that made it out or fled? Were you able to capture the rest of the bandits and turn them over to Billowgrass?
there was
Or kill them? I
one.
don't know what your operations are like.
Most of them were killed or fled. A majority of those in the higher ranks were captured and were left imprisoned in Billowgrass for them to decide what they wanted. But Jaquet can speak more. There was another that was involved. It was just a bounty hunter. I don't think I caught his name.
We let him escape because he gave us valuable information.
Different guy, but that's okay.
Hmm.
The bounty hunter Septimus is speaking of is the one that I let capture me to bring me back to their base, so we could have a man on the inside. We did not get his name. though he seemed quite the professional and unaffiliated generally with the bandits or their leaders. Simply a man for hire. A sellsword or a rat catcher of type.
And you'll notice that, like, once you started really going into detail, he sat back at his desk and pulled out a new notebook and is basically just been writing everything that you've been saying, or just keeps writing as you're talking with him. And do you have more exact numbers on some of these things? How many died? How many escaped? How many are in captivity?
We do, and let me give that to you. As Jaquet relays the information.
You don't have to go over it yourself.
Yeah. But does Jaquet will omit anything about Reardon?
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Good. Very good.
Give me a deception check.
A 20.
Ooh. And doing rather well tonight.
Yeah, I actually had to work for that one.
Yeah, as far as you can tell, like, he is not batting an eye or questioning your numbers that you give him.
Mm-hmm.
He continues writing these things all down. Any other anomalous activities within the village? Are they quite well now? Any other happenings? Elemental nature?
Within the village, none. The people do have strange customs. I'm sure you're aware.
I know the locality's customs, particularly those propagated by the Onomancer.
I guess the only thing that could add, Saskia can describe it more. She described that the hideout that they were resting in, they were crafting this drug from a pool where they growing crystals out of it. I wasn't able to see it for myself, but maybe she could describe it more in detail.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. It was just a pool of some solution. They kept saying they were running out of solution. And that's where we took this crystal from. That we no longer possess, but had it for a little. And it sounded like an employer needed to supply more solution if they wanted to keep the operation going. But Dalen didn't seem, well, later in the aftermath of the fight, which some of us were acting in self-defense and protecting our friends and may have killed some people, he said that it seems like he said the experiment was a failure. I remember him saying that. It was a failure.
Curious.
It may have just been because of our interference.
Likely.
I think there's more to it than that.
Tell me more about this crystal.
Oh, what do you want to know? It was a crystal. It was...
Did you see it?
Yes.
Did you interact with it?
No.
Jaquet's just kind of looking at, like, side-eyeing to Fyrn, basically saying, like, you know, if Fyrn wants to admit this, otherwise Jaquet's not going to say anything.
Fyrn is tight-lipped, but you can see a sort of pensive nature on his face. Like, he wants to say something, but he doesn't think it's the right thing. Like, if he's gonna say something, it's gonna be something that you don't want him to say.
It seemed powerful.
I don't think Sigil really needs a insight check to see something.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious to see that Fyrn is.
I mean, he rolled a 19, but I don't think Fyrn's really hiding it like that well.
Yeah.
Unless you do want to do a deception check. think he doesn't really notice. Jaquet's a little more subtle. So I think it's fair to say, like, you would just, that point is a little, not tense, but like is unresolved. He doesn't press you though further. He just continues kind of writing. He doesn't respond to you, Sass. Like, he lets you talk for as long as you'll talk about the crystal.
And then I'll just keep I'll keep rambling until he stops me, because I'm not sure what he's looking for.
Yeah, and eventually,
color, shape, height, width.
Yeah, that's all the things I will be giving. Yep.
Yeah,
Clarity.
Slight colorations.
Yep. I think at some point in there, I'll say something like, I felt compelled to lick it at one point, but I didn't. I promise I didn't.
Compelled to lick it.
Yeah, it was very strange.
At any point, did any of you taste cinnamon on the wind?
I think we did, yeah.
Did I taste cinnamon on the wind, Sean?
I think when you broke it, you fucking did.
Yeah, you would have all tasted cinnamon in the air after you shattered it.
Yeah. Yes. Is that bad? Were we not supposed to? What does this mean?
No. That tracks with the descriptions of what you're dealing with.
At 24 hours to live.
For those unaware, cinnamon is typically the natural odor and taste of latent wild magics in the air. Most chaotic of forces. Interesting.
It was definitely present. Was it present around Reardon too?
Oh yeah. When you guys went into the basement, the place reeked of cinnamon.
Got it.
Well, I suppose there'll be time for further discussion, and also discussion of other work that might come through. But we should need to get you paid.
Yes, of course. My favorite part. By the way, I kept the receipts,
He says, gesturing up to basically just handwritten notes.
He'll look at those, and he will kind of give you, like, for the first time, like, I think, like, this is the first time you can tell that he's smiling underneath the mask, and he just puts a hand out to take them.
Yeah, so Jaquet puts it out, and he goes, now, we billed you for items that we already had, but had to use in the course of our adventure to ensure the best possible outcome, of course.
We'll write up a report and submit it to university for approval.
Fantastic.
I may not be able to, as he kind of looks at your script.
It's nice script.
No, I know. I don't mean that he's like it's like
okay.
I imagine he's just like maybe he's just like looking at it to like actually read what you wrote. I just potions, emerald.
Oh yeah, didn't I tune out when they start talking? Didn't I tell you that they trapped the elemental inside Davin into an emerald? Whatever happened to that, anyways?
No, it's just his, because you know how they Billowgrass, they name all their townspeople, and then they put a little bit of a tiny portion of a storm elemental into every person.
If you're willing, Septimus, Bruce, Fyrn, based on the story and perhaps further discussions at some later date, at more length, to talk more about what exactly happened in those moments when you cured this.
Me?
I'm sorry, but the discussion seems like you weren't there for that part.
No, I was doing other important.
This was when you were tricking the bounty hunter into capturing you.
Yes, of course.
Yes.
Yeah, at some point, sure.
Well,
Yes.
But for now, and you see he does kind of like gesture in the air, and you can see kind of this like bright sea foam green light goes over his hands, and you can hear out in the hallway the clockwork machine as it comes in reconfigures itself. You know, it kind of like folds its upper half into its legs to step into the door, and it's carrying a chest.
Fuck yeah.
And puts
Sorry,
it down.
I didn't mean to say that out loud.
And you see Sigil hasn't like moved from like his hand being up to kind of like summon it, and he just like looks really quickly at you, and you can just tell like he has an eyebrow cocked, and he just kind of shakes his head with an audible chuckle as it puts down the chest, and inside you will find a number of coin purses equaling out to 360 silver.
For each of us?
No.
Damn it.
I'm assuming I don't have to check my notes and do the math, Sean.
No, I don't believe so. I believe it was 360 was the agreement
Yeah,
for
it was.
the full achievement.
Yep.
And he looks and he just goes, "Feel free to count it."
Jaquet's already going through.
Yeah, I imagined so.
And he's divvying them up, 72 each.
Fyrn's just crouched, like above, like he's taller, so he's like looking over him and just like watching him count the money.
It
Waiting
was
for his turn.
Up like to
350.
eat every single coin. Yep.
You guys got a $10 tip. As he looks to you all as this counting is happening, looks to those of you not obsessing over the silver in the chest, and says, "Well, at this time, there may be some other work for you soon. I'd say check in maybe a week or so. I have some colleagues that have been negotiating some potential work with some things that may be not require as much travel, but then some things that also are outside of the city. If you're interested in another excursion. But I could have those sort of dossiered and ready for you to take a look at in a week if you're still interested in continuing our collaborations."
Well, whatever proposal that you may have for us, we'll be staying at the Cask and Crow mostly when we're in Hyvin. So, if you wish to have us return to discuss future endeavors, that's where you'll find us most likely.
I can absolutely send a courier. And with this accomplishment, and not just a simple fetching and retrieval or minimum completion, you have done extraordinarily well. You've not only found information about the illness, then alerted the appropriate people, found a solution to the illness, but also found an overall solution to the issue facing Billowgrass. I'm certain the people, particularly August, the Onomancer, are deeply, deeply grateful. I as well am deeply grateful, not only for relieving us of this plague, but also bringing back such thorough notation.
We're nothing if not thorough. By the way, you had also said that potentially for completing our work, we might have further access to the academy. I know my friends here were interested in maybe seeing the alchemist's workshop, and I had a few questions for you personally that we can discuss.
I'd like to see the artificers.
Artificers, what did I say?
Alchemists.
What's the difference?
I got
All a
this
bunch of
sword. I don't
nerds.
know how it works.
Yeah, just give it to me.
Well, my specialty is not artificing, so I don't. Perhaps I could help, but it seems like your friends might be more capable.
Yeah, I didn't know if I needed like a ticket or like a hall pass to get into the.
Or to get into the school.
Yeah.
Well, of all the schools,
Do you have any contacts or influences that can help us get in?
well, I could speak.
Or maybe just sit in a class or two.
Yeah, but
Ideally,
I'd like to use their equipment and see, what library they have. Septimus and I are very respectable in a communal environment, so.
Give me a persuasion roll. I'll give you advantage because Jaquet started this conversation about this.
Jaquet is here.
Yeah. Jaquet is present.
So Jaquet's present. You had that guidance. You had that guidance. That
Guidance, yeah.
Yeah. Shadow Heart's here.
Yeah.
I got a 15.
Okay. You see, he looks at you, and it's funny because, like, we'll chalk it up to the fact that he wears a mask all the time, so you couldn't really see the fact that as you were kind of, like, keep saying these things, he was trying to, like, speak. Like, every time you're like, yeah, we do well in the communal environment. He's like, okay. And, we really want to use their tools and their facilities and all of this. And eventually he would, like, once you kind of, like, come out of that, he looks at you and goes, well, the School of Artificing is, if not accessible, it is one of the more welcoming schools for visiting intellects. Their dean is particularly open to all sorts, though they still are bound by the rules and regulations of the academy as a whole. Of all of the schools, perhaps save the agricultural and working animals school, the most amenable to visitors sitting in. I could, if you'd like, set you up with a meeting with Dean Bronin.
Yeah.
It will be short, and it will be up to you to convince him that you are worthy of visiting some of the classes and potentially more. I will put a good word in, say that you are friends of mine in my offices.
Full scholarship and full ride?
No.
Well, let's at least have a conversation. I'm sure.
Singular class audit, perhaps.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves there now.
A tour of the facilities.
He will be more than impressed at our capabilities.
What do you teach, Sigil?
It's Sigil.
Sigil. Right. Sorry, I
pronounce
remembered
his name.
I do not teach full classes anymore. I've taken on full responsibilities of the endless libraries, though I do work with certain students and non-matriculated students on independent study, such as your friend, Dulvana. So if they are as kind as I, perhaps they will take you on for independent study.
I did want to talk to her about funding a certain research development, and I just pull out the cracked amulet from that I have around my neck.
She usually comes into town for the... You're right there?
Yep.
She usually comes into town over the weekends. She should be arriving either today or tomorrow to work on some of our studying work. If I see her,
Right.
I'll let you know that I'll let her know that you're at the Cask and Crow.
I'd appreciate that.
Yes, well, perhaps the best I can do is walk you out and show you where the school is, so you can at least get a glimpse at the artificing school, and when you return, I can let you know, or I can send word to the Cask and Crow if Dean Bronin has agreed to a meeting.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Sigil. And, some sort of letter would be great.
Of course. Anything else you had questions about or requests?
Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to know if you've been hearing the rumors around town.
Rumors?
Yeah, I hear there's some pretty influential people showing up, and it seems like most people are aware of it, but not really sure who or why they're coming.
I suppose I have heard there have been many faculty networking parties, so to speak, at some of the senior administration's homes. Though I usually ignore them, I consider them a bit gauche and uncomfortable.
I could look into it to see if there's anything I hear around campus. But you see, I'm often here in the libraries and fixated on my special interests.
Fair. We're always looking for new and upstanding partners to share our services with.
Of course.
All right.
And-
Yeah, if you can show us. Sorry, Jaquet. Did you have something else?
We can make this quick. Two things. One, you looking for traveling bardic instructors? I've got a degree from back in Domuzerum. And if you recall, I had asked about this, but we never fully resolved it, about forging a teaching certificate from Domuzerum from the college I attended there.
Is that a ABET accredited?
Well, I'm certain if you still possess your paperwork, presented it with some credentials, I suppose I could introduce you to the School of Arts and Humanities deans. There's a transfer of power happening right now. One of the deans is retiring, and his replacement is shadowing him for some time. But Dean Dante Firio is the one who's retiring. He's himself is more of a historian and painter, but the school holds the Bardic College of the Academy. His replacement, or the interim dean, is Silverin Chevalier. Philosopher, but a bit more adventurous than him, perhaps a little bit more akin with the Bardic arts.
Fantastic. And I know we had discussed previously about, like, admittance to the academy. What exactly does that entail? I met someone who seemed like quite a promising young mage, and, to get him proper training.
Well, there is a formal process through the Commodore's office. And if approved by the Commodore's office, they approve them for a certain level of funding. Then they are to go through the admission process for whichever particular school. If they're a mage, as you say, truly there is a space for them in any of the schools. We have plenty of wizards and sorcerers who work in the arts, in husbandry, and naturalism, as well as artificing. But they need the Commodore's office approval first before they can then apply through our formal channels.
Of course. Well, thank you for the information. Sigil, you have, as always, been a font, a wealth of information. And actual wealth, he says, kicking with his heel the trunk.
I'm happy that our collaboration has proved fruitful. I half expected you all to never come back to my office, but I'm glad that you have.
Jaquet has a look of abhorrence on his face, like, oh, really? Us? You think that?
It's hard to find good adventurers these days.
Well, Jaquet says as he puts his arm around whoever's next to him and goes,
You found some damn fine adventurers in us, huh, guys?
All right, where's that door?
Okay, so you have your money, and Sigil will lead you out, walk you back to the front, and he will point out the artificing school. You can see clearly the newest buildings here. Like if you're touring a college campus now, and the engineering building's the newest building.
yeah.
As he looks to Jaquet and points out the Arts and Humanities building, and
It's horrible.
It's one of the oldest buildings.
Crap, man.
The oldest buildings for the truest crafts. It makes sense.
But you would
It's
see
an 8-year-old man playing the hurdy-dirty.
I mean, even though it's old and probably not kept up as much as it should be, like it's still quite beautiful. Like it's you know, this is not like you know, a local college that like their humanities building is like part of a different college's building. It's like these are the original structures. They're more Gothic. They're more architecturally beautiful. But the he would actually point out through the kind of fencing of the School of Artificing. He'll point out Dean Bronin, who is, you can see, is like has a class like outside, like in an outdoor workshop where you can see there are a handful of students. There's not it's not packed. There's, you know, artificing is a very unique program, so there's not a ton of them, but you can see Dean Bronin is anyone proficient in nature or arcana? So if you'd like, you could do arcana checks.
I have half proficiency.
Oh my god. It's a good thing it's low stakes. These rolls.
Natural 20 for a 28.
There we go. So Dean Bronin is a very, very large man. I don't mean like
Kingpin?
No. I don't mean like Sal height. I mean, he is probably he's probably 12 to 13 feet tall.
Oh my god.
He is purple skinned. Bruce, you have in some of your reading heard about Fomorians. He is a purple giantkin. Who are with a nat 20, you know they are sort of a, you know, you've read a few things about the Feywild. They were sort of a cursed class of soldiers from the Feywild that at one time were a very like respected people who were inventive and strong warrior culture. You would also with that nat 20 kind of know the context that like in pockets throughout all globally, there are Fey refugees who have moved all across the globe from Gwenvalir, and particularly from Elysia, where you know there is a reality breach still there. He has this sort of purple skin where like some of it looks like very smooth and silken almost, and then some of his faces kind of has several growths on it. One of his eyes is overly large. He generally looks like someone who just has sort of cancerous growths throughout the body, but generally speaking, he's wearing very contemporary clothes. He's got sort of just breeches, a vest, and rolled up sleeves, like cotton white shirt. And he's got like grease and smudges all over his hands. The shirt is wrecked. Why did he even dress this way for the workshop? But he looks quite confident and proud as he's talking about with a very jovial smile. Looks like a very friendly man. He has like sort of some of the scarring and disfigurement he has kind of spreads over his forehead, but you can see like what hair is not gone from the scarring is very well kept. You can see there's product in it of some kind of pomade in there, and he has a very pencil thin mustache of this black hair, and he has a single kind of like, he doesn't have glasses. He has a single goggle that goes over his bad eye that's sort of clearly disfigured and overgrown, that has several different gadgets, different lenses on it, and you can now as you're kind of like really seeing him stand up and move about as he lectures, you can also see that he has a prosthetic leg from the knee down on the left side, and he's just sort of wandering about back and forth, talking to the students, pointing at their projects. As you can see, they're like holding up scrap metal that looks like this is some kind of like introductory course where they're just making whatever gadgets they can.
So this is Bruce's dream man or dream idol.
Yeah. And I'll say some of this it had to be described to you by Septimus. But like you get close enough.
All of it.
Yeah, if not all of it, but you get close enough to get like a little bit of it. Like you basically, Sigil offers to like go up to the edge of the fence, where you can get a better glimpse, knowing that you need a little bit of more access. But still, Septimus, you can describe some of it to him to make sure he has a clear image. But the two of you, and Septimus, you see this man as well. Bruce, you just know what he is, like what his ancestry is. But as I said, I'll speak to Dean Bronin and see if I can get you to a meeting with him.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
All right. And he would lead you out back to the front, and he would say goodbye to you before you were at that same courtyard where the mosaic is. And he would say, I will send word or a letter to the Cask and Crow if anything comes up. Thank you again for completing this quest. I look forward to our next one.
Can't wait to hear from you, Sigil.
Hello.
Alrighty, so you've got your silver. You got potentially more silver to come if all these expenses are approved by the Academy. And some possible meetings up ahead.
What time do you need to play at the Harlequin and Chalice?
I think, evening time, around dinner. I don't think Oren actually gave me a time.
No.
But
All right.
tonight, so, get there around 6 maybe. Suss out the crowd, see kind of what they're feeling.
What are you guys doing for the rest of the day? Till we get there. How should we spend our afternoon?
City is yours.
Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, thank you. No sense searching for Dolvana if she'll come to us. I do want to figure out how that sword works, and I just want to know if we could find some more information about the string of murders that's been going on.
Oh, there was also something, Jaquet, wasn't there something else that you wanted us to help you fix? It was a gun, right?
Gun, yeah. But I think when you guys investigated, you needed the artificer school to make those proper modifications.
Yeah, how about you? If you're using them or not using them right now, I can hold on to them in my bag of holding. And when Septimus and I get access to hopefully get access to the artificer workshop, we can indulge further. I could, inspect them right now, but
You already inspected them, remember?
yeah, exactly. They're modular and all that.
You
but
need the artificer school. We did this. You rolled for
All
it,
right.
remember?
I was just, re-explaining this to you. All right.
Okay.
You could take a quick look at the new one just to see if there's anything additional that wasn't that you didn't learn from the gun.
The new what?
The
The
sword.
sword. Great
Oh
sword.
yeah, well no, that's what I was going to suggest. I just was thinking that there was another magical item. I forgot that's where the.
If you want me to tell you right now, I can. But I probably can't do much of it with it.
All
Well,
right.
I'll
Dagger.
look at it at least. In the meantime, until your show. As far as the string of murders, I've got my payment. I don't need any more craziness right now. I'd like to just retire to something that I know I could do well.
All right. Tour Cal's shipment at some point. Maybe not today. Maybe tomorrow. I'd like to see if you got a shipment of garbage that I could sift through. That'd be nice. Besides that, I'm just like you guys.
Yeah, or at this point, you really do. The things that are on the docket that you have outstanding with people that you've sort of made pseudo agreements with is checking in on the brother of one of the murder victims for Kellen.
Right.
You have where's my documents? Let's see. It's really, I mean, that's the most like the thing that you like a direct like, hey, there's a person who asked us to do something. That's the one that has sort of that direct line. The other stuff is where you're interested in looking, or things that you're interested in getting involved in.
But it's also been like 4 days or something since.
It's been like a week.
It's been 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah, that's why I'm like a little hesitant to get started on that.
Procrastination.
Well,
Well,
it seems like
another
I don't
quest
know
to do.
what type of information they've has been uncovered in a week. You know, that's why I kind of wanted to see Kellen first.
It's truly at this point. I mean, we're kind of entering a pseudo downtime. So,
Okay.
you know, like in the sense that like you don't have, unless you like directly, you know, start something, like you are back in kind of a pseudo downtime. So, if there's something particular you all would like to do, we can explore that. Otherwise, you know, we can always get to the performance and then maybe give you guys some time to think about what you would like to do in Hyvin.
I do have one thing, maybe. I want to find Bruce. And say,
We're literally all standing right there.
Yeah, I mean,
I find
for
him
the
by
sake of
walking
clarity, I'm
around.
going to say you guys probably walked back to the Cask and Crow to
Get
settle
some
there,
lunch.
get some lunch, and decide what you
Jaquet
like to do.
looks like he's working on just writing out some stuff for the performance. He's starting to prep.
Bruce, you mind coming over here for a second?
Let's go scoot around the table. Yeah, sure.
I hand him back his business card. I didn't need this, but
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I'm
Right.
glad that you didn't need it. It was there for just in case.
I wanted to talk to you about that. The business card, it seems like a good way to share word. And while you were, you know, working on Lollipop, I started making I made a poster and put it up in Orange Shop, kind of just advertising our services. I
Alright.
figure it might be, you know, lucrative if we tried to reach out to other sources of income besides Sigil. And I wanted to see what you thought about this, and maybe you could help me make something similar to this card that I could give out to people or share around town.
Yeah. I found a nice craft store down the street that we can definitely go to for my bird. That we can make up some cards. Yeah, I have some experience making these. Doesn't take too much. We just got to carve out a little stamp for each of us and just cut out some pieces of paper and go bum 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 bum, and then there we go. They just won't be magical. That's the only.
That's all right. I wasn't looking for the magic part anyway. Just maybe some information about where to find us.
Yeah, that's kind of the hard part right now because we don't exactly have a home base. I mean, right now the Cask and Crow is kind of our base, but we still have to pay for it, unfortunately. So until we get a home base, I'm not too sure we should.
I've been telling people, at least in my other poster, I wrote to find Orin if they need to get in touch with us.
That is a good idea. Yeah, maybe we could do that. I'll definitely help with that endeavor.
What do you think of this? I show him my shitty drawing.
Yeah, you see this drawing of just a really crudely drawn blue tiefling. Oh, did you just reshare it?
I love it. That's going on our business card.
It says Iron and Mana. Fighters. We solve problems, monster hunting, crime solving, bodyguarding, ass kicking, price based on
Scale.
Scale. Okay, I thought it said stale. I was like, what? Price based on scale with a crudely drawn picture of Fyrn shirtless with a thumbs up.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I think you should share this with the rest of the group.
Oh, they know already.
Oh, okay,
Maybe-
great.
Hey, Septimus, have you seen this? And I just give him a piece of paper with my like no context whatsoever.
Septimus ignores you.
Yeah, he just ignores you. Hey, we could work on some of the art, but for now it works. I'm not an artist, so.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So I suppose that's what we'll be doing.
Do you want me to inspect your sword real quick?
Right. I just plop it on your in front of you with the cartridges on top of it.
Identify.
Hell yeah. So go ahead and give me. Also, you can give me an investigation or an arcana. I'll say investigation check to see if you can if there's anything uniquely different. But we'll also give you the information from identify.
20. Dirty 20.
Okay. Okay. So now that this is the second one that you've seen, the gun that Hastings had been kind of especially with your last time looking at it, been repaired frequently, and it had a lot of scratches on it and dings on it, and some of them clearly intentional scratches off. This one, despite being something that is of a very similar design, is a little more sophisticated actually. The gun seemed almost crude in that it was maybe created off of bad designs or not quite perfect blueprints. This sword is sophisticated looking. The blade has a clear channel in it that connects to the hilt, where you can then find very clearly this little hollow part to basically load these cartridges that he has into it, and press a button and activate the. Stefan, you're not muted.
How far did it go?
Where did it go?
Sorry.
You're good. Now you're muted. And you, with the dirty 20, you're able to find what is mostly scratched off, but not perfectly scratched off. You can see a little bit of the lettering of it, where it would say, an acronym is there in all caps that says the BAU. An acronym, and then a dash, and then it's sort of scratched, but it looks like it says manifold armaments. And that's sort of looks like a brand logo, actually. Especially coming from Halcyon, that. Actually, give me a history check, because you are from Halcyon. (14) Okay, you're a businessman, or at least related to businessmen. In Halcyon, suddenly in your mind, you remember an advert that you saw once, and actually that you heard once from an artificer's sort of speaker stone that was giving an advert out in one of the trade districts of Halcyon. In 826 RA, the Bunkos Apparatus Union crafted their unique manifold armament designs to increase the flexibility of the adventuring class of the contemporary world of Aradun. With the complexity of wildlife and threats in the far places, your modern adventurer needs to be ready on the go for any fight. Their patented manifold modules allow for weapons and armor to serve the needs of the adventurer. Need quick-acting anti-venom modules in your armor to fight against the giant boas in the Chrysaltos Islands? Or perhaps the radiant fires of the moon to scour the undead of the Gosu haunt. Bunkos Apparatus Union's manifold armament keep you safe and savvy. And this is a really... just from that memory that this is an incredibly rare and expensive item that is highly illegal to be anywhere other than it being sold by a licensed artificer who has a license to the patents to sell these, which does not exist in the Aldhalor Islands at all.
Now,
So not illegal.
That's one way to look at it.
so adventuring needs, but where was it being advertised to be used? Is there a specific place in Halcyon?
Yeah, so it would absolutely be sort of like a seed campaign to advertise something before it's mass released, and meant specifically for to just like drum up interest. And certain adventurers might have, one might say, early access to these stocks. Famous adventurers, not new adventurers in Hyvin.
Okay. And so adventuring like everywhere else from
Yeah, I mean, you
Halcyon,
could be
and it's
an
very
adventurer
specific.
who's come from Halcyon here and has one of these, and has like sort of like a license, basically like certification to own it. Like if you own one of these, you're an incredibly wealthy adventurer, basically. And if you own one of these and you're not an incredibly wealthy adventurer, then you jacked it off of someone or paid a black market artificer to make a shitty version of one, like the gun.
Okay. Yeah, so this is like it's a nice sword.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's gonna need a lot of work. Yeah.
Wait,
I might
really?
need. Yeah, there's a lot of parts, there's a lot of moving components here, and it's really intricate, and I might need some time to really understand how it.
Yeah, with that 20, Bruce, you know this one is completely operational, is not broken whatsoever, and you could easily figure out how to use it in an hour.
Seemed to work fine when it was blasting fire in my face.
Yeah, well, what you didn't see is that the internal workings of it is actually damaged during the fight, so.
Can I get an insight check?
Yeah, Bruce, if you want to give us a deception check, you can give an insight check.
By a lot.
What did you each get?
I got a
8.
4.
And you got an 8?
Yeah.
So I imagine this is like
everyone else knows what's going on. We're just the two idiots that are like
100%.
Okay.
It's like in Curb Your Enthusiasm. Anytime Larry David is going like this to one of the other members, and they're just staring at each other really hard. But he seems like he's on the up and up. Of course,
All
Bruce
right.
would know if it's broken.
Checks out, but you're gonna have to pay me for the sword.
What do you want, like 20 silver?
I mean, just buy me a new sword. I gotta use something.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you don't have a sword on. Yeah, I'll buy you a new sword. Yeah, that's no problem.
Oh yeah, you all remember now that Fyrn's sword is fused to the ground out in the countryside. His other sword, because of the horrifying lightning god that exploded.
Maybe
around
when
it.
you check your garbage dealer, we can pick up a sword on the way.
That's a great idea. I'll stop there first, and then I'll stop by the tortoise.
Great, I'll come with you.
Blacksmith.
Turtle. Yeah.
All right. So as you're all kind of coming together to take care of sort of afternoon errands and kind of truthfully take a real breath of fresh air. Like, yes, the three of you got to unwind last night, but really you kind of didn't, because there was a lot of drama that appeared towards the end of the night for all of you. I mean, Sass got pretty drunk, so she maybe got that prevented her from having a night's rest, and all the paranoia, and who knows what Jaquet got into. Bruce and Septimus stayed up late making tinker and stuff. You're all probably need an actual relaxing afternoon. to run some errands. If there's other downtime things that you all want to do, you can let me know. We kind of resolve those off screen or non roleplayed. If you want, there's stuff you want to buy that's on the up and up, things you want to do, and you kind of
like. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, but Torcal, for example, like if you wanted to skip that over and just be like, this is the junk that he's got.
Yeah, if you're literally just looking for junk to repair, like we don't have to do a full scene for that, unless there's something you specifically want to ask him about, like local rumors, gossip, that kind of stuff. And we'll kind of resolve all of that at the start of next week's session. But as you all kind of gather with your afternoon of relaxing for some of you, errands for some of you, nervously or confidently preparing for the night, how's Jaquet feeling?
Oh, he feels fine. He's got old material. He's got new material. He's gonna wing it at some point. He knows. So he's just thinking like, how best to, structure the evening of extravagance for all his viewers.
Yeah, and so quick question, kind of to like end us on some imagery. Do you all go to the Harlequin Chalice together, or do you all go ahead and Jaquet kind of goes on his own?
I would go together. I mean,
Sure.
It's up to.
I guess really, Jaquet, are you gonna go ahead of time to prep there, or go with them?
He would be going for like 6 o'clock. So if they join him, he probably would have had like a bit of an early dinner, head over there. I'm gonna head over if you guys want.
To make sure I get a booth.
Yeah.
You'll probably want to go early to make sure you can get one of the booths that can be private. But when you all arrived, though, Jaquet, you notice that there is actually a line at the door. And as you're walking through Main Street, you notice that there are several posters, just like really haphazardly pasted on like wooden pillars, sides of buildings. They're all very crudely drawn, because they've all been drawn over the last 24 hours. Like some of them, like you can see clearly, like this was one of the early ones that he was making. So like it's clearly like just like, oh, that one looks kind of nice actually. And then there's some of Oren's lesser work, but they all have a very crude drawing of Jaquet on them, and in big letters scrawled on them, Jackie Touchard. Or no, I'm sorry, it was Jackie Touche. Jackie Touche, Bard Extraordinaire, brand new, premiere, 2-night, Harlequin Chalice, 8 o'clock.
No, what? No, I cannot. No, by the heavens, by the hells.
He casts Unseen Servant. Mage Hand is up. Both of them have writing utensils as they are going to everything, and he's going himself, and he's crossing it off, and he's scribbling on there, Jaquet Touchard. And he's like, no, I cannot believe you would actually do this to me. That is not my name. That is not what I go by.
I pick one off the nearby pillars, like, that looks pretty fucking like you. They did a good job.
What's the resemblance like, Sean?
Let's see. I'm gonna roll to see if it's one of his good ones.
Is it like Fyrn? It's like Fyrn.
Oh, it's 100% similar
cat.
quality to Fyrn's. Like it could be any tabaxi. It could be any tabaxi.
So Jaquet's not too upset by that because he's like, oh, well, at least, it doesn't look like I'm bad and that it's you could compare it to me. It just looks like a fucking Gatman.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jackie Touche is a pretty good stage name. You should keep it.
And just like looking around at how many there are, Jaquet's like, I don't know if I can get in front of this.
Are you fucking kidding me? Look at all these people that are here to see you.
You just gotta own it, exactly.
Yeah.
What Sass said.
Yeah. What if we go into the bar and we hype you up a little more? Would that help?
I don't think I need any more hype. That's not the problem. The problem is I am Jaquet Touchard. I am not this Jackie Touche.
Looks like you are now, my friend.
And under his breath, almost inaudible, you just see,
You ever want to talk Sea hog. As he stomps up to the Harlequin Chalice.
And you can all follow the newest hit in Hyvin, Jackie Touche, for his premiere performance in Harlequin and Chalice. And we'll start next week's session with that performance. Thank you, folks, for hanging out with us tonight for Adrift in Aldhalor. Next week, we'll jump into a little bardic performance to start us off, and then we'll get into whatever these folks want to do about town. Resolve some downtime stuff, see if they want to investigate a murder, see if they want to wait for Sigil to reach out to them, or pursue some other things. But thank you all for hanging out with us tonight. We will be back next week. I will be streaming this week for Relaxing in Paradise. This week I'm shifting to Thursday nights. Just because it fits better with my schedule, and it'll probably actually be able to consistently stream on Thursday nights versus Wednesdays. So we'll see how long it goes. So be there. We'll probably actually play a little more Baldur's Gate, and maybe some other stuff. And then the Sean Enchanted Power Hour on Sunday, where we'll recap tonight's episode and talk about what's next for Iron and Mana.
Question mark.
Exclamation point.
Upside down question mark.
And we'll be back next Monday, 6:30 Eastern Standard Time to continue the adventure. So thanks for hanging out with us, folks.
You're welcome.
Toothpaste?
Yes.
All right.
That's our party name.
That's the party name, Toothpaste.
What a name.
All right. Bye.